Live.
On the top. On the top. Don't do it on the side.
We still got a couple more minutes, but I'll get the stream going right now.
What happened to Richard?
Richard, oh, you know, Richard is not joining us today because he's in Mazatlan filming Carnival.
We did that last year.
Life of the
Yep,
rich and
yeah.
famous.
What's that?
Is the life of the rich and famous.
That's right. Look for him on Instagram.
What's he doing there?
Filming Carnival. You know, he's originally done work in Mazatlan for many years before he started frequenting San Carlos, and he still goes back every year for Carnival to update his website, take photos and videos, and promote Mazatlan's Carnival stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what he's working on while we're here.
Do you go to the one in Wyoming?
You know, we did for years when we were younger, but I don't think we've been there in, I don't know, 4 years or so. If only it wasn't a kid event when we went. We were drinking in the streets and partying with the people. But what they did is,
You been down for it?
Did you want more coffee?
I'm fine, thank you.
did you hear what happened this year? So this year, apparently the mayor, our new mayor, promised that no one would pay for Carnival. And people showed up for Carnival, and they had ticket booths, and they've gated off, and they're selling tickets. And the people just tore down the ticket booths and walked in. Yeah. They did?
In Wymus.
In Wymus. Well, Carnival for years was free. And then with an administration, I don't know, 10 years ago or so, they started playing with this idea of trying to charge for it. And they took grief from the people for that. So then they went from charging for it to having venues that they would charge for. They would have an act over by the water, and the only way to get into that act was to pay for that act. But so this mayor apparently promised Wymus that it would be free of charge, and people showed up and they were trying to charge people. And of course, the way we have law enforcement right now, there's nobody there stopping people from doing whatever they want. And so they just walked right through. They pushed the gates aside and came on in, and it's like, no, Carnival's free.
Sounds like Woodstock.
Yeah, very much like Woodstock, yeah. Well, should we get started with my Carnival story? This is the San Carlos Computer Club. I am Scott Stimpson from International Computer Solutions. We meet every Tuesday from 9:15 to 10:15-ish and discuss the tech topics of the day. I'm going to blame Sid he's the reason I have no topics. No, I'm kidding. I do allow myself easily distracted. I should blame myself for being easily distracted. So I have come with a list of old topics and no new topics, and I would be happy to hear new topics. I see 2 hands. Go ahead, Judy.
Okay. So I renewed my Sirius subscription for my radio after calling them because they wanted to bill me $247, for the year. So anyway, I called them, and after I renewed it, the guy said, "Oh, and by the way, we're still sending you a new Echo Dot
For free.
for free." So it's waiting for me up in Nogales.
This is exactly what I was thinking. Is pretty soon you're not buying these things. They're just
So it's a 3 though. Is that the latest one?
no.
Okay, so that's what
That's
they
why
did.
there's.
Well, I think they've got a deal with Amazon to give it away for free
And
because
it's
they want to
like
get more
free
people in that
shipping, everything.
in that infrastructure. Oh, what is going on here? I'm not ready for problems. Damn you!
The next topic is communications
So anyway,
problems.
if you're gonna up your Sirius subscription, they might give you an Echo free.
There we go. That's cool.
Renew.
Just renew.
I renew.
Yeah, I noticed that they didn't give you Alexa in the car for free.
Do I have that option?
Well, there are smart speakers now intended to go with you in the car.
Oh.
Call them back.
It does use your data. It also would directly compete with Siri
That's what I
radio
got
in your
for my
car.
hour on the phone trying to get my rate low.
Yeah, you got it free.
Did you get your rate number?
Did you get? You did? How low did you get it?
94 for
And
the year.
oh wow, so you got it for less than half of what they were trying to
I
charge
said,
you.
you know, for the last few years, I've not paid over, that's 94 plus tax.
Okay.
So it comes up to be like 112, but still, it's half of what they were gonna charge.
What they were going to charge you, and they should have felt happy to get that much from you.
I know. I
Right?
said, because if you can't do anything, I'm gonna have to just quit, because I get Spotify in my car.
Oh, ta-da, good.
You pay a subscription for that?
Spotify's free,
But you do use your data.
yes.
You do use your data. You need to be
And
honest
I
on
don't use
network.
Spotify in my car, I did lie about it.
And now we have it on the record.
It's called negotiation.
Well, what is true is there's an innumerable amount of options that you could be exercising instead of paying $20 a year to maintain a satellite radio. That's what they have to understand when you're talking to them is, I've got dozens of different options for this kind of entertainment. Why would I pay this price?
See, but I like NPR and all those
Well, but you could
Don't tell
wait
them
on renewing your subscription for a month or two and they come down to $5 a month.
You think?
Oh, yeah, they've done that for me.
Well, I'll have to try that next time.
If you pay by the year,
Yes.
it's $10 a month. But if you pay by the month, it's 13 or 14.
Right.
And my Echo will not open my garage door. But
Neither will your
the
wife.
newer ones, you can turn on lights with. You can open your garage door.
You know, you just have to get your garage door opener, but your Echo will do it.
I don't have a garage.
Can you let the dog out?
Oh, we'll know who let the dog out.
You know, I bet they have garage doors on Amazon.
Yeah.
Have you tried asking your Echo to buy a garage door?
Get me a garage.
Then trying to put it up.
If that works, I wanna know, cause I want a garage too.
I asked about delivery, and they said, "Well, what?" That's what they said. What?
What? Yeah,
I wanted to buy a garage. A garage?
a garage?
Trailer.
Yeah. Has anyone heard of the Box House?
No.
It was at the Builders Show. It's really interesting. It literally is a 24-foot, I think, square house, but it folds up and fits flat on a cement. And
You better be
really
out
an
of it.
excellent design, $50,000 with all the furnishings, all the appliances,
What's the
everything.
insulation like?
How does it
Yeah.
fold up?
Yeah.
If you go to their website,
Not for Canada.
it's the only easy way to watch how it folds.
What's it called?
Box House.
In the winter, it's a
The
little
other
bit.
thing interesting there was there's a house now that they have, it's relatively small, but they have a movable wall that's hung from a track in the ceiling so that you can
That's
push the
interesting.
bedroom stuff, you know, and make it much smaller so you have more living space for a party.
They've done that commercially for years.
Murphy room.
Yeah, like
Them, yeah,
ballrooms, conference rooms. Yeah, they have
Yeah,
those
ballroom,
movable.
yeah.
yeah, it's cool.
But this is in a relatively small house. It was about 800 square foot.
It's 10 to a tune.
I'd kill them. Put me in 800 square feet with anybody for 2 weeks.
They'd regret it.
I want more than my 50.
Yeah.
Topic that I thought you guys might find interesting.
Am I still on?
Oh, hey, yeah, you're on the board, Bill. What you got there?
I'm just being real patient over
Yes.
here.
How unusual for
I
this
just-
group.
I just want to say, I saw an Amazon ad the other day, I think it was Amazon, for a 2 terabyte. I just thought that was
Whoa.
very amazing.
I could use one of those moment.
I figured, back in the day, buying memory for an Apple IIe was $700 for 16K.
Right?
Anyway, that was it.
Well, what's interesting about these extreme sizes and such small packages, and you could imagine that's USB 3, is that they are not trying to put more storage in your computers. when you go and you look at it, we're moving to a paradigm where Chromebooks are a fairly normal kind of laptop to have, but they sell with 32 to 64 gigabytes of space, knowing you can take one of these drives and just plug it in if you need that kind of space at some point in the future. The other thing with these Chromebooks, that whole paradigm, nothing changes in the Chromebook. It's like buying an iPad. You get what you buy, and you're stuck with it until you trade it out for another computer at some point. And it's got fixed RAM, fixed storage, fixed specifics about it, but they're cheap. And if you need that kind of storage, you can get one of the. I want one of those thumb drives right now.
How much was it? I don't remember what the price was. I was so amazed at the size there that I sort of left it. I'll leave it up to
I've just recently had to restore a couple of computers, and to do that, I like to do a full backup of a full disaster recovery backup. In case something goes wrong, I can put the entire system back to the way it was before I began. And recently I found myself running out of space in my storage in my office, and so I was moving stuff around. I was having to create a section of space that I could do one of these backups on, and a 2 terabyte thumb drive would eliminate that problem immediately. I just plug it in and go. I did learn something new that I didn't realize was possible. With Windows 10, I was choosing a new location for backups while having my old backup location plugged in. In a nutshell, I had 2 external hard drives hooked to my Windows 10 laptop. I had the new place I was going to start backing up to, and I had the old place I had been backing up to. And when I assigned the new location, Windows 10 said, okay, but you've got all these versions on this other backup. Would you like to move them to your new backup location? It was just a yes or no question, and I'm like, sure. And then I waited a couple hours while it moved 512 gigabytes from one. But I didn't even realize that was an option in this scenario, and that's awesome, because you could be somebody that's keeping incremental backups of changes to documents, maybe for business or for pleasure, that have had changes over time. That flyer that you keep putting out for the Rescate fishing tournament, or the framework that you're putting together for your website that changes with each iteration. And so you may not want to lose you may not want to lose the ability to look at a file and go back 12 versions and see what that version originated at. And that's what that option allowed me to do, was to keep all those previous versions in line. A topic I didn't realize I was going to talk about till just now.
I have a question.
Sure, Bob.
42.
That's the answer.
I don't hear. I don't hear very well. And,
No.
and I have a big TV, and the speaker on the TV is, they say, is not very good. So I'm interested in a sound bar, and I can wear headphones that are wireless, and I hear perfectly. And I'm interested in knowing about sound bars, and I thought I knew enough about them, but someone told me that they have a separate remote, and that just operates the sound bar. I'm very much aware that, I don't know how many people don't have hearing aids in this room, but you have them, right? And I don't know about anybody else, but low frequencies are easy to hear. High frequencies are very hard to hear. And yet the speaker on a sound bar is, I guess, far superior to a TV speaker.
At least that's the general consensus.
Is that the general consensus?
Yeah.
Except a model from RCA from Coppels for about $60, which
Is worse than the TV you're trying to enhance.
Back to the TV finally.
You went back to the
And the
TV.
remote doesn't reach from me to that table. You gotta get up with the remote.
What a Bluetooth speaker. My husband's hard of hearing, and attached a Bluetooth speaker to my television. If you don't have the capability, there's an adapter that you buy for like $20 to put on your TV that makes it a Bluetooth. And then I have a Bluetooth speaker that he puts beside him.
Really?
So he doesn't have to wear earphones because he doesn't like to wear earphones.
In fact, you know, your Echo device will work as a Bluetooth speaker. You could, if you have Bluetooth in your TV, you could Bluetooth it to your Echo device.
Also, don't forget.
Well, Roku, isn't Roku give you Bluetooth?
Yeah.
Does it? I don't remember. Does Roku give you Bluetooth? Fire Stick absolutely gives you Bluetooth. And I was gonna tell this story. My parents have the same issue. Mom's a little hard of hearing and wants to keep it low at night. And so I Bluetoothed it to a portable speaker about the size of a cell phone. And she just, at night, she keeps it up by her head so she can listen to it without disrupting anybody.
Well, the first thing is
It's a nice
remember
speaker.
that high notes are very directional and low notes are not. So placement of the speaker is very important. And that's why when you have a subwoofer, you can put it anywhere.
Right.
Because they're not directional.
But the Bluetooth solution could be the best one for you.
Does Chromecast provide Bluetooth?
I don't know.
I don't think so. Let me do a Google search.
I don't know.
I went to Best Buy and they said there wasn't such a thing as an adapter to make a not smart TV into Bluetooth, but there is. I went on Amazon and got one.
Yeah.
They said there wasn't such a thing. But there is.
I would imagine the device you're using does require your TV to have audio out.
Yes, we need an audio out.
Yeah, and so there are TVs out there that don't include audio out, and such a device wouldn't work unless you had that, where you can pull the audio from the TV. Like, if you could plug in a pair of headsets with a cable, then these kinds of solutions are definitely going to work. But if you don't have the ability to plug it into like an external stereo, if you don't have the ability to plug it into a pair of headsets, then the TV may not have the ability to push out audio, and then the Bluetooth idea wouldn't be available to you.
Yeah, except my brother bought one of these Bluetooth headsets for my mother's TV. And what we found is when you plug the jack into the audio out, it turned the speakers off on the TV.
So anybody else in the room?
What you're describing is a feature of the TV set.
Yeah, it was a TV set, so.
So it's another limitation based on the kind of TV you have. If you wanted to run speakers in conjunction with the TV speakers, that's what you're describing.
Yeah, yeah, because she was the only one then that could hear the TV.
Right.
With your headset. And
so there are ways to work around that too, but it's a series of different connections and capabilities.
Thank you.
Yeah, can't connect Bluetooth headphones to Chromecast. I guess Chromecast does have Bluetooth because people are trying to use it unsuccessfully. Yeah, I cannot connect to Chromecast using Bluetooth on my phone.
Oh, it can.
Solved.
Oh, I can. Can I connect is the question.
But it says it's solved.
Yeah, well, it's not Bluetooth you connect your
weird,
phone,
though,
it's
too.
Wi-Fi you connect to it. Like the way the Chromecast works is you sit in the same Wi-Fi pocket or you Wi-Fi direct to it. It broadcasts a Chromecast Wi-Fi signal that in fact, on the screen of your TV, it gives you an authentication pin so that you can connect directly to the device and then you can send stuff over to it from your mobile device.
Well, what's really interesting is that over 50% of people 60 to 70 years old, 50% have some hearing problem. Now, they also know that those people stay at home because they don't want to socialize with other people. So this group right here, there's two of us apparently, or three maybe, that have a hearing problem, and that's unusual in a group. 20% of all kids that are 10 and 12 years old have some sort of a hearing problem.
God, they just didn't want to listen to their mom.
It's according to parents everywhere.
No. Medically.
That's because they use those earbuds, and if you can walk next to the child and hear, what they're hearing, it's too loud.
It's like driving up to a car that's.
Yeah, our kids, when they first got their little Sony Walkmans, you know, I could hear the thing go over and turn it down, you know. What are you doing, you know?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
There's 4 of us.
I have a question.
Sure.
This is kind of an old, but maybe not even one that I'm gonna need to worry about, but last fall I heard that, Apple computers, the MacBook Pro, age, 2015, was, not allowed on airplanes because of their battery, and you had to get a new battery from Apple before you can take it on the airplane.
That's interesting. When there's a recall like that, then yeah.
But you have to back up your computer, and I wasn't exactly sure the best way to do that.
Why do you have to get a new battery?
Well, it could be a
I
dangerous
have to
battery.
yeah.
Could light the airplane on fire?
Or something like that,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
15
MacBook
Pro battery.
Fires on airplanes.
Yeah.
I know.
But I
Remember the
But you
story,
can
Exodus?
get
2015
They
MacBook
were
Pro
bringing these
battery swelling
Jews from Africa to Israel.
and recall. So you could be on the recall list. The unfortunate thing is that the airlines could.
Cargo hold.
I haven't heard about about them targeting 2015 MacBooks, but that's what they would do. They wouldn't pay any attention to whether you had the fix or not. If they were targeting your MacBook, there's no way for them to know you've got the new battery. I mean, unless you've got paperwork with you showing that you have the new battery, they're more likely to just target them and say they can't be on the plane. They wouldn't be.
But you get to the airport with it. But
They put it in the box with all the pocket knives.
They put it in the can of violently exploding liquids, right?
Yeah.
Where they put all the other violently exploding
the
things
nitroglycerin.
right next to them, right next to the security line.
No, the FAA didn't ban.
2015 MacBooks, yeah.
Did they
That's-
come out with a-
And
They
that-
did ban the Samsung Note that had a tendency to catch
knew that
fire.
someone
You
had
remember
that.
that?
Yeah,
Yeah, and so they were checking your cell phones at one point, not allowing you to go on the plane with them.
So even in the cargo hold?
Well, you're not supposed to put them in the
Especially in
cargo hold. Yeah, all your batteries are supposed to be carry-on. And then they're supposed to meet these guidelines for your batteries. You're not supposed to check any batteries.
yeah, but you have to back up your computer.
They do.
It reminds me of this KCD cartoon. This math engineer is famous on the internet for making cartoons, Stickman, and he's an engineer, right? So the panel is his wife going, now calm down, and they're at the TSA line. He's like, well, yeah, but he's got my shampoo. Certainly he understands that I could just stick a fork through my battery and explode the plane. He doesn't.
You don't want to talk like that when you're in line.
Not when you're in the security line. But I mean, that's the fallacy of all of this. The security theater is that any one of these lithium batteries could be an incendiary device very quickly. And they allow all of them to stack up in the plane themselves. I mean, they worry about a phone catching on fire, but they should really worry about absolutely every electronic device we have, because they're all carrying these batteries that could all of a sudden start a fire if misappropriately. But they took your shampoo. Hey, I do have at least one topic I thought you guys would find interesting. If you weren't paying attention, Huawei just released a whole bunch of new equipment on Monday. I mean, they just announced all these different tablets, different phones, folding phones, and then immediately Google issued a warning to any U.S. customers because they're still under the software ban. China, this company is not allowed to use U.S. technology right now. And so what that means is all these wonderful products. I'm a big Huawei fan when it comes to technology. I like the cameras in the phones, I like their batteries, I like their screens, I like their processors, their storage device. They are awesome pieces of equipment. There's probably an argument to be made they're priced low enough that the Chinese can spy on us with them, because they're almost giving away top technology. But what Google's saying is no Google, no App Store, Google Play, no YouTube, no Gmail will be sold alongside on this phone. So what you'll get on these phones and tablets is a Huawei App Store, a Huawei email program, a Huawei, I don't know how you deal with YouTube, but probably a Huawei web browser that you could go to YouTube with, because there isn't a native YouTube app that can be installed in the phone. And I'm ready to accept all that because of where we are politically right now. But the part that took me by surprise in this article I was reading is that Google, and you might have seen it if you've been in Google Play Store, has a virus scanner and a security scanner, which are two separate things, for each one of its apps. And when you go to the Play Store, it scans your apps to make sure that they're still compliant with both a virus scanner and a security scanner. When they find out that one of the apps that is being downloaded in the App Store turns out to be malicious, they add that to their database so that when you come back, and you're coming back all the time with your Android devices, what I'm describing is happening automatically. So you're not thinking about this stuff unless you go into the App Store and you're looking for a new app. Then you can see this process happening. But it scans your device once again for whether you've got viruses, and scans it to see if it meets security issues. And apparently, this is new, Google certifies equipment as being secure. Huawei is not on that list any longer. So when you go to the App Store, you are not able to download apps. Oh, this is the part I forgot to mention. There have been ways around this problem. People have been able to install Google Play on their Huawei phones, their new Huawei phones, and continue to install these apps. There are instructions on how to get these apps into your Huawei phone, which do not matter any longer because you cannot use the Google Play Store to install these apps. So you might be able to get Google Play into your Huawei device, but your Huawei device, the hardware, is not authorized by Google. And so none of the programs that you would go after will get installed through Google Play. What that means, if you buy one of these Huawei phones, you're on your own. You do not have somebody taking you by the hand, guiding through what apps to install in the phone, or coming with apps that are ready to go that you're familiar with. Yes?
The new modem that Telmex just put in our house, because we just put in fiber optics, is a Huawei.
Yes.
Is that going to conflict with our Chrome? Because we're having a really weird problem.
It won't conflict with your Chrome at all, but it is questionable whether there are security holes in that device that would make it possible for not only Telmex, but also the Mexican government and also the Chinese government to pay attention to what you're doing. And we do live in a world now where it's reasonable to believe that each one of those entities has a large enough data warehouse that they flipped on a switch that's just accumulating that data.
Something weird's going on. I don't know
No.
what it is.
Couldn't you install Aptoid and get all your programs through them?
That's what you could do. You could also more than likely install the Amazon App Store and get all your apps through them. But again, that's a level above just the standard consumer. You have to turn off security concerns in the phone so that you can install third-party app stores. If you don't do that, then your only option is a Huawei app store. And so that takes these products to the next level. Normal people don't do that stuff. Normal people go to Google Play and install apps from there. Normal people don't even install apps. They look at the phone and go, what do you mean it doesn't have YouTube? Well, I can't buy a phone without YouTube. And they go on to the next model.
So, you have a Huawei,
Huawei, yeah.
you have that installed in your house?
The router that Telmex put in.
All the new routers
no
from
choice.
Telmex are Huawei's.
Yeah, we had no choice.
Yeah.
We're using laptops
Mhm.
with the
And-
internet connection, with the Wi-Fi connection.
And
We're having trouble.
And to be, if we were looking at security threats from Huawei, the ones the government has been concerned about are at a much higher level, but your modem in your house is closer to that higher level. They're not concerned, it's the fallout of being concerned at that higher level that they're under this embargo of US technology all the way down to your phone. But the security threats they're concerned about are happening up at the switch level, where they're creating internet for areas like San Carlos. They're concerned about that being what's compromised, is that piece of equipment. Your modem in your house is just beyond that piece of equipment, which would bring it into suspicion as well, because it would either work in conjunction with a device that's compromised, or at your level, at your house level, is already compromised. In the view of the U.S. government under this administration, what we're supposed to be concerned about.
Are these downloading problems, or are they other problems within the computer?
What kind of problems are you having?
Locking up. With Chrome keeps locking up.
Keeps locking up? Is that on both your computers? And have you checked the version of Chrome you're running? If you go into Help under About, it will not only tell you the attempt to download the latest version if you don't have it.
Okay, no, I haven't done that.
And it should be, your Chrome should be just updating all the time, so you shouldn't have to do anything like that. But you do that when you're having problems. Many times you'll see a message in there if something's gone wrong.
Well, if I reboot the router,
Mm-hmm.
within a few minutes, it comes right back up.
And then also
You know,
phone reconnects to it too.
why don't you give up on Chrome for a while and try a different browser?
That's about what I'm.
Yeah, and just to verify whether you're having the same problem, because everything is based on Chrome right now, except for Macintosh, Apple stuff, which is based on WebKit, and Firefox, which is based on their own thing.
We used to recommend Firefox. I haven't used it for a long time, but are you still recommending that?
Yeah, I recommend Firefox again. There was a security period of time that I was concerned
They
about
went out
it.
of favor with Google and then back in again, as years have gone by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Firefox is legitimately a different rendering engine. So if it is actually a Chrome issue, you should see it across all the Chrome browsers that are out there. Brave is a Chrome browser. The new Edge from Microsoft is a Chrome browser. The Opera is a Chrome browser. They're all built on the same motor. It'd be like, in the car world, it would be like having a Ford, a Nissan, and a Chevy all have the same Renault motor. And that's where we're at. Chrome has become the standard motor for all these web browsers, with the exception of what Apple's doing with their browsers, and with what Firefox is doing with their browser, Mozilla's doing with their browser.
So you're telling us that
It-
you have this Huawei system, and Carlos Slim has adopted this Chinese system, right?
I don't
Well,
know what
all over the
Scissor's
world,
Alliance.
Huawei has been providing this kind of equipment.
Okay, so
They are the lowest bidder.
okay. So if they are the lowest bidder, if somebody had that, you think about grandfather. Everything in the world is based upon something that happened before, and I look at that grandfathering codes. Law is all based on what's happened before, and so I look at this and say, if you had a system that was grandfathered in, you probably could continue to use it then.
I'm not sure the point you're making, Bob.
The grandfathering in, if you had something that was provided by the telephone company,
If you
and
went
then
back
they
to
have
the
a new
old-
law,
All right,
and that's what
you're talking about, like an old modem. If you didn't want the,
is it just the modem that is changed?
well, yeah, over the last 10 years, they've moved from a variety of providers of modems down to one provider. And so now if you get a modem from Telmex, it is definitely a Huawei modem.
And their equipment in the main office?
I would imagine is Huawei, because that's how you end up in this position. Is
Exactly.
You buy the big metal from that company, you get discounts on the little stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
So everything is Huawei.
That's what I would imagine, yeah.
Except-
And I would imagine that the 5G rollout will end up being Huawei as well. I mean, really, that's the biggest problem with 5G right now, is that there isn't alternate vendors that can compete against them. We've talked about this before. I'm convinced that's the reason for all this garbage going on. I mean, there are genuine security concerns. Absolutely. I think that they should vet all the equipment. I think there's a real concern about basing your infrastructure on a foreign country's technology, especially one that has such tied roots with the government, especially one that has a government that is a pseudo capitalist communist government. I mean, I think those are all very good reasons to have intelligent people in government vetting and verifying. I don't think that's the case right now. I don't think we have very intelligent people making these decisions right now. I think that most of this is coming from we want to give Intel a chance to compete against Huawei. We want to give Qualcomm a chance to compete against Huawei. Qualcomm's the only one that's really close to competing. And Intel, less than 6 months ago, came out to say we're not the ones that are going to do it. We're stopping our 5G development because we can't catch up. And so I think that the security concern is going to be minimalized unless they can get Qualcomm to catch up with development, because Huawei's ready to roll it out. And we're already watching the UK. Huawei is their 5G provider. Canada has already vetted Huawei 5G providers, so they're going to be doing their 5G with Huawei equipment. And at the same time, in American mainstream media, we keep hearing, they keep putting out articles about the security holes we've already found. And when I read these things, I think, well, yeah, but there's security holes in our technology as well. Our technology's been compromised. It's well documented how often it's been compromised. We had a government that was spying on our people, and instead of stopping spying, they just rewrote the law to make it legal to spy on our people. And so really we're kind of at an impasse where it's, do we want ISPs in a foreign government to spy on us, or do we want ISPs in our own government spying on us? That's really where we're at. And the U.S. government is going to stop us from buying this equipment that makes it difficult for them to spy on us and makes it easy for a foreign country to spy on us. It's a very nuanced issue. And it's all driven by the fact that we want the technology now. It's the same thing that's driven all this technology. Windows, I don't know if you remember back in the day, though, you could... I remember hooking up with a friend from Computer Club just to prove that we could do it across Debbie's... I was helping Debbie administrate the cafe internet back in the day. Everybody was using that for their internet connection, and with Windows 95, I could connect up to Debbie's system and file share into my friend's computer across San Carlos and put documents and delete documents from his computer because Windows was so poorly secured. Had nothing to do with Debbie. Had everything to do with the way Microsoft was churning out software. So we've lived through these security holes, and Microsoft had to put a whole security task force in place. I guess what I'm getting at with that is we always wanted the features before we wanted the security. We've always been marketed the features before we worried about the repercussions. And we're still there. That's still what we're doing. We want 5G. We want to be able to download a 4K movie into our phone to watch on the bus while we're sitting at breakfast. Before, we're worried about my email being available to any spy out there or any industry that would use that information. We're not worried about that. We're worried about the movie.
Is any country really more secure than the United States? The idea of intellectual property is, I've had a very close friend that was involved in intellectual property. He was a lawyer, and I really respect that, but I think sometimes that gets in the way of
Innovation.
of the thing you're talking about.
Yeah.
More features.
Yeah, well, the security thing specific. I mean, the idea of protecting IP is supposed to better the consumers, but many times it gets used to protect the industry. And industry has always treated it as though it's their protection, but really the whole idea of intellectual property was to make it possible for consumers to learn and grow and come up with new ideas without the people that create that stuff being at risk of having their ideas stolen.
Scott, back to Bob's point about history setting precedents, is this any different from what has gone on in international real estate, international production of products, international banking? This is just one more area that's being affected this way, isn't it?
Well, I would probably share your opinion. I'm far from an expert in any of this kind of speculation, but I do feel like we've dealt with. I do feel like the issue is China. It's not security. It's not the way we do things. It's not our culture. It's because China is in the title of this, and our government has always had a reason to be concerned about that. And so there's nothing different about the products we're trying to use, the security holes that could exist. The big difference is it's this foreign entity that we have adversary relations with at times that we're concerned about. And it's probably a genuine concern. I think they should be concerned about our equipment. I mean, that's the reason they started building their own. I mean, we were the first ones to put back doors into equipment they were buying as they were getting industrialized so that we could watch them. So I think we have good reason to be concerned about them doing that to the equipment we're buying, because they're in the perfect position to do that. I just don't know where to go from there. I'm not the right person to make those decisions. I think it's a genuine concern. At the same time, this is the way our world's been working for as long as I can remember. We're moving to an open society, whether we like it or not. I mean, we're moving to a world where I'm going to be able to put your name into a search engine and get your entire history. You guys heard about that facial recognition software that's floating around right now? Yeah, that law enforcement departments have been buying without letting people know they've got it, and it's been insanely effective at
You can grow a beard and still see the face.
beard, side picture. They caught a guy that they had been looking for years from a fuzzy image on a abused child video. It was paired with the image of a guy in a gym captured in the background of a guy's selfie. So I'm at the gym working out and I'm showing off my muscles, so I take a picture on Instagram and I accidentally hit another gym member in the background in a mirror, and this software was able to pair that with the child abuse video. They approach the gym, identify who the guy is. I mean, not the selfie guy, but the guy in the mirror, and they're able to track this guy down and arrest him for this. They've never had that kind of power before.
So when this software makes a match, it tells you that, hey, we got a match here? Is that how this?
Yeah, well, it comes up with all these pictures from that match.
Wow.
Yeah,
And-
Google does that.
and
I
it's
mean,
side
you can
picture.
take a picture and put it in Google,
Oh,
and
yeah,
it'll give you all
Facebook.
this.
No, the Google doesn't even compare to this.
No, I know,
and
but
and
Yeah,
what
it's
they've
true,
done is
it
they've
does.
they've created the biggest database of social pictures that's ever existed. And they've done this by scraping all these social sites. So every public picture they could get a hold of is in this database.
Like
And
your videos.
like my videos, like Jim, you got to stop all that illicit behavior, because now you can be identified from a fuzzy picture on an OXO camera, and you'll find you in the computer club.
I
There's another reason
thought
why you
I
share your
identification.
photos on Google.
Well, maybe.
I thought identification was more powerful than facial. But they've changed that, huh?
Well, it's a different kind of technology. What's unique about this story is just how very effective it's been in law enforcement. That's one big point, is the software that they used to use required them to almost have mug shots. Like, you had to have a front full featured face picture to compare against these government databases that were out there. And so they weren't having a lot of luck. This article that I was reading had done interviews with investigators, and they told stories where they had cases that were 20 years old that they were able to solve. No, I'm sorry, not 20 years old. They had many years old that they were able to solve in 20 seconds. That's where the 20 comes from, the 20 seconds. So they were getting no hits on all the government sites, and they were trialing this software before buying it, and they solved cases in 20 seconds that they had no leads on, just because they were able to put these pictures into a more intelligent database and get real results for them. So law enforcement's loving this, but what this is we're one step closer to, I can put Bob's picture into a database and get absolutely every picture that he's ever posted online. Not only his pictures, but pictures of friends and family that have taken of him and put out there online, as well as the corresponding information that goes along with it. Oh yeah, that's Bob. He lives in San Carlos most of the time. Here's his phone number. Here's his address. He did nothing but get captured in a number of public databases that have been successfully scraped and organized together. It is what Snowden was reporting to us was being done in the government, but now it's on steroids, and it's a private company, and they're marketing it and selling it to law enforcement.
Not just law enforcement.
Well, now here's where everything starts to rub really hard with friction, because they say they are a responsible company that will not be selling it to anyone but law enforcement.
In China.
Who's law enforcement?
And Russia.
I just think that those kinds of statements you can take as far as the person that's in charge of the company. So the moment it changes hands is the moment that stuff. It's like the Patriot Act with the presidency. It's like, yeah, sure, until somebody decides that it's okay to use it for these clauses you've outlined. No, we promised to only go over. Where'd the promise go? You were only going to go after bad people. Where'd the promise go that you were going to stop fishing? You were never going to use this for fishing expeditions. It's because you're really working on a promise instead of any kind of tech. I'm a firm believer that if technically you can do it, it will be done. It doesn't matter what laws are only determining who's liable for doing it. It doesn't mean it's not going to be done. I really feel like if you have concerns about these things, then what we should have is a market of technologies that's thwarting these other technologies, and it's an arms race going back and forth. You write a law to decide who's liable for it, but you make technology to stop it from happening.
They were talking about the health records being, there's a company that handles 60% of all the health records.
It was recently compromised.
Was it?
Yeah. Yeah.
But how far back do those health records go? From birth, unless you're pretty young.
They are if you're born in China. I suspect we're doing it now too, because why wouldn't they be
It's all
putting
computerized, so it's gotta be out there.
if you take a blood test of a newborn, it gets into a database, which is a genetic profile.
That's true.
It's no different than taking
every time you
fingerprints
go
and
into a physician's
footprints and
office,
things
you
like
go
that.
out.
It's
Now it's all big.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. The negative actually is the climate we live in right now. It's not the technology. It's, that old analogy, you can use a hammer to build a house or break somebody's skull. The hammer is not at fault.
So what kind of laws does technology need to have? If you didn't have codes, you'd have buildings falling down. Okay? You take your children and you give them limits. And mankind needs limits because mankind is not always honest or truthful. So what kind of laws do you expect to happen with technology?
Well, I think that's a great rhetorical question. I don't have an answer for that.
Oh, okay.
But I think it's a good thought exercise.
Infallible laws would be the best.
Yeah, ones that can't make a mistake. Do we have any examples of that? Yeah.
Well, law.
I really think, my personal opinion is we are in the midst of a cultural shift. And we're either going to blow ourselves up or we're going to figure this out. But I don't see any other options. In blow ourselves up, it could be metaphorical or it could be literal in my mind, because we are at an impasse where technology is so powerful we have to be making some of the best decisions we've ever made. We can't provide just features without thinking of the repercussions. We have to always be thinking of the repercussions as we
Not
put out
always a
this
redo
technology.
possible.
Say again?
Not always a redo possible.
That's right. What is the analogy is we can't put the genie back in the bottle. After we release this stuff, we have to deal with the repercussions. We need to spend a lot more time thinking about the repercussions before we release it. I personally, I'm in favor of a completely open world. I think I think one of the biggest problems we have right now is that only certain power sets have access to all the information on us. I think if we all had the same access to information that certain power sets had, we'd see a lot more intelligent decisions being made, a lot less corruption going on, a lot less conniving going on, because we would have the same level of access that those couldn't be done in secret any longer. And that's what's happening right now, is those things are still being done in secret, but then they have absolutely every piece of information to manipulate politicians into making decisions, law enforcement into making decisions, to hold you accountable for things that you didn't realize you were ever going to be held accountable for. We need this cultural shift.
So you believe in limitedness?
Well, I believe that where we are right now, all we can do is limit. But I see over the hump. I see over the hump where we didn't blow ourselves up, where we've all had this cultural shift, where we're not scared of our information being out there, because we haven't created a society where we're scaring people. And so, yeah, okay, I mean, if you want to see what color underwear I'm wearing, it's out there. It doesn't bother me a bit. Right?
Isn't that the whole premise, say, behind the WikiLeaks thing?
That's exactly the
Yeah.
premise behind WikiLeaks.
It makes some sense.
Is if you live in the light, you should behave in the light. You should, right? You should behave in a manner that people aren't going to be coming after you, because that information is now available.
Who's that?
You're waiting for the lightning bolt?
Something is on the room.
What is that? All of us,
It's not rain.
we're in a palapa that we can see daylight through, and there's something crawling around on top of us.
That's what you said, somebody's out
Probably a
to
cat.
That's it. That's the NSA agent up there retracting his microphone.
Doesn't want to lose it in the explosion.
He's like, we're done with this group. It's
No, you're paranoid.
yeah, I'm paranoid. If I'm paranoid, it's because we've reached a point where we
No,
create
no, no,
paranoia.
No, you live in the light.
There is one problem with your premise, and that is the narcissistic effect. There are certain individuals in our society, all societies, who really should not have this kind of power. How do you eliminate that?
See, I don't think you can. I think all you can do is give that power to everyone. And then those people cannot effectively function. Because you've got all the insights on them.
Assuming that the others say so.
Yeah,
you know,
well,
don't allow it to function. But there is a certain percentage of the population that will go along with, I've always been a Republican, damn it, I'm gonna vote Republican. That kind of thing.
yeah.
There is always, out of the 100%, there's always 20% that are one or the other. I don't know.
Well, you know
It's
what
a
I
lot of
found
freedom.
interesting just recently, and we're getting farther and farther away from computer topics, but I did see that
Philosophy, no.
that poll on CNN that was showing that the majority of people are independents. That when you look at the numbers, the majority of people are not Republicans and they're not Democrats. They consider themselves independents. Independents hold 40 to 50% of our society.
Have you ever read the platform for the independents? Have you ever read it?
Yes, I am.
Have you?
one. Yes.
It's one
I've
paragraph.
worked in the
It's,
polling
you believe
offices.
whatever you want. That's what it says.
Yes.
That's what it says.
Yes, and there's very few
That's how
people
we
that
all
go in
should
there
be.
and vote independently. They either vote Republican or Democrat.
Yeah, they do.
Well, you
Yeah,
can't
right.
really vote
When-
independently because
when-
then you're voting for the wrong people.
When
No,
I
but
see
it-
that number, what I
talking-
see is
Yeah.
almost half of our society ready for any new idea that makes sense. And I think of that as a good thing. I see that as hope. I see that as more that almost half of our society is ready not to follow their neighbor, but they're ready to follow a new idea that makes sense. I mean, that's all we need. We need good ideas that make sense. And almost half of our society is ready to go that direction. So what if we got 20% over here that says they're Democrats and they're always going to vote Democrat, and we've got 20% over here Republican that say they're always going to. If we can get that independent to follow the good ideas, that's what's going to dictate society.
Well, starting out, you were talking about folding houses. In London, they're building buildings now like spiders make webs,
Oh, yeah.
and they're all doing it with plastic. And I think that's kind of neat,
Yeah.
you know.
Like what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you're talking about printing houses?
Oh, the 3D thing.
Printer.
Yeah,
Yes.
the 3D house printers. Those are awesome.
Exactly. Yeah.
How about a computer topic?
Oh God, okay. It is Computer Club. We do have 5 minutes left. Let's talk.
I'm
Let's.
a Lowcast fan. I don't know how many people use it or have tried it.
What is it?
Lowcast is.
This is what you mentioned.
rebroadcasting your local TV stations. Now, they only do 17 U.S. TV locations, cities. I use Denver, so I watch all the football games. But as of this week, where I used to get like 12 channels, the local Denver channels, each channel seems to have been
Oh, you're
say,
getting
expanded drastically.
the HD.
Because WGN, who owns the Denver equivalent, KWGN, they now show 4 different variations of the channel, all simultaneous. So you went up to Lowcast now probably has at least 60 channels rebroadcast, $5 a month.
Wow.
Ooh.
That's awesome.
Now the bad part is you have to have presence in the city, VPN or DNS or something, and the city has to be one that, you have to choose the right ones.
Well, is Lowcast maintaining the HDTV antennas for your local area? So you don't have to do any of that.
You don't have to do anything, it's all live streamed over the internet.
It's a
And
service.
they're legal because it's a exemption in the US law that says a nonprofit can rebroadcast.
Yeah, we had something like this going on for a while, and that's what caught them, right? There was
Yeah.
another service like this for a
Right.
long time.
Yeah, Area or something like
Aerial, yeah. And they got in trouble. They had antennas all over the United States, and what they were doing is they were leasing them to customers per use. So you wouldn't lease it for 30 days. You'd lease it for the TV program you were watching in that area.
Yeah, their claim was because they're separate. But Locast, I think, only has one antenna.
Well, I think how they shut them down was they weren't non-profit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they were
that's
nonprofit.
how they got in trouble, is they weren't
Can't
non-profit.
rebroadcast at all. And of course, everyone's trying to sue, even though the law is very clear.
Don't kid yourself, nonprofits are not nonprofit.
Well, sure, but it is an exemption to the law. It allows you to use this service. Did you the max have outpaced Windows for threats?
Yeah.
I heard about that,
Yeah. I'm just going through old topics now. This was from a couple of weeks
How
ago.
about what's the current rumor on when Windows 10 will start charging a yearly service fee?
I haven't heard that rumor. Where are you seeing that?
I've seen that, and I really think it's very true, because why else would be encouraging all these old Windows 7 people to upgrade to Windows 10 and then, okay, do exactly like they've done to Office. No, you can't buy an Office version these days. You must do our yearly subscription.
You know, I'm remembering what you're talking about, and I've heard some people talking about this, and they keep coming back to they do not believe, they haven't heard anything to make them think that it was going to be, there's going to be a free tier of Windows always. But then there's, for corporations specifically, there's going to be a tier of Windows that includes Office, includes cloud services. It's all bundled together so that it's an easy way for a corporation to buy. They can buy per license, per seat, and it would include all these options. It's like Windows 360 or Microsoft 360
like
that
the
they're
enterprise license.
yeah. I mean, I think that's what you're referring to, because whenever they're talking about this stuff, they're always saying there's going to be always this Windows 10 for home use. Windows 10 is going to come on the new products that you buy. We still are able to upgrade Windows 7 to Windows 10 for free. They say that will always exist. What may happen, I've heard speculation that what may happen as your product gets older, it's going to fall out of compatibility with the latest versions. And so you will be stuck with an older version of Windows 10 with the latest security updates to it.
Windows 10X.
Well, 10X is a completely different beast that they're talking about.
A lot of computers might fall out.
Yeah.
The whole thing seems to be going to pricing things less, like smart TVs and everything else, so they can get your information. So I find it hard to imagine they're going to come up with this whole brand new package and start selling.
Well, and I think what you said about Windows 10X convolutes the issue, because Windows 10X is the new version of Windows that's going to come out. We talked about it a little bit last week. Windows 10X is going to be able to offer supposedly 90-second upgrades. So upgrades are not supposed to be an issue. It's a new technology called containers that you guys have never had any real exposure to, but the idea of a container is mini computers. The idea that a computer is built out of software and you're running that particular app in this mini computer, and it's isolated from the other softwares in your computer. So when you run Chrome functions as though it's on a separate computer than when you pull up your email in Windows 10 or you use your calculator. Those are all considered separate instances of computers. And we've done stuff like this. It's called virtual machines. We've done stuff like this for a long time. But now this is the foundation of the Windows operating system. They can have a very secure base operating system that manages all these little fake computers that are running. And this is a very complex problem that they have solved, where you're able to copy and paste and move information between these without compromising their isolation. The isolation is what's giving their security. And some of this terminology you hear, virtual machine, container, sandbox, they're all referring to the same style of technology. where they're compartmentalized applications. So you go to a website and it is able to inadvertently get something malicious into your computer. It's only in that compartment. It's only in that container, and it's isolated there, and it can't jump containers. It can't jump into the rest of your computer. On the off chance it can jump to another container, that doesn't mean that it can compromise the entire operating system, because the operating system isn't maintaining applications, it's maintaining these containers, these sandboxes.
So Apple hasn't done that yet.
Apple has nothing like this right now. Yeah. But containers have grown out of a Unix-based operating system environment. They exist in Linux, they exist in Unix, and Apple systems are based on BSD Unix. And so they are working very quickly to move their operating system to these styles, because this is the latest style in operating systems. The latest style in this technology is we're anticipating processors with 16 cores. Up till now, we've been using processors with 2 to 4 cores in our PCs, and our phones have gone from 4 to 8 cores. I mean, that's like having 8 brains in your computer. We're anticipating, AMD has announced 16 core processors for your PCs, your laptops. So what all that allows you to do is some much more sophisticated manipulation of the operating systems. I mean, when you think back in the day, you're running Windows on 1 core. Well, having 16 cores makes it possible for you to theoretically run 16 full Windows computers that could be operating different applications in each one of those cores. That's not necessarily the way this technology will work, but theoretically that's the way you could think about it. That's the kind of power management that we're going to be anticipating.
You're saying like you have one computer and you can have 16 different screens out there and have something different on each one?
Well,
if you wanted to.
You could marvel over the technology you could wrap your head around it by thinking about it. That's not the way that it's going to play out.
Yeah.
That's
not
your
Who can look at that?
your experience. This is the boring part. Your experience won't change. You'll be looking at one screen. You'll be running your applications, 1 or 2 apps that you typically run. But all these pieces that are happening in the background are going to be compartmentalized away from each other, so that they're satisfying these extreme degrees of security to allow data to interact. The same way I started out talking about how I could get into my buddy's computer across the internet. Well, we can't do that anymore, because they've figured out ways to compartmentalize your experience on the internet from your friend's experience on the internet, so that there's these deep layers of security segregating you from these other experiences that are out there. Well, now we're going to be having those kinds of deep, rich security environments in the operating system. And it's only made possible by these increases in cores, these increases of technology. Your experience will be boring, because it'll be exactly the same thing you're doing right now. But you will be fundamentally more secure, less prone to viruses, less prone to eavesdropping, right?
Well, the concept dates back to 1980 with IBM with what was System 38, now called I-Series computer, where you could not address anything else in the machine except the one thing you're working with. So therefore, you never reboot the machine. Once a year, maybe, that's it, because the software type things never fails where it affects somebody else. And
Yeah.
so business has had to rely upon this type of design, because you don't say, hey, 10,000 people, go redo the stuff that you've just been doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll really looking forward to it, because I hate the current architecture.
Yeah, this is a fundamental switch in architecture, and it's for the good, and most of us won't even notice it. It'll just be the latest iteration.
You'll notice the fax computer works better.
And the Windows 10X that we're talking about, the next iteration, will not work on what we've got now. They are not building it to work on what we've got now. They are saying that this is going. They're pairing this with the dual screen technology that they're pushing, so that you won't find this version of Windows 10 coming out on anything except devices that have two different screens on them, and that's an artificial constraint that Microsoft has put on it. And we've already had articles come out where people have taken the beta version of this Windows 10X and they're running it on Macintosh computers so much more successfully than anyone expected them to, that I believe that we are going to have a whole line of hobbyists like myself that would try and run it on their old equipment. But Microsoft will not be releasing updates that will push old equipment into this. What I speculate will happen is they will continue security updates for the old version, the old generation of Windows 10, and that'll just be the operating system you'll continue to use on your computer until it dies.
Will this be an easy meld with 5G?
Sure. With as far as we are in 5G right now, why not? Why not? That's an easy answer for it, and I don't think we've got enough information to really know whether they'll really.
I guess my question is, are the developers of each of those technologies thinking about the other one?
Well, only in the fact that you've got modular technologies, and so I mean that will be dealt with, but it'll be dealt with right alongside printers and scanners and mice and keyboards because of this containerizing of operating system. That's really what Windows becomes, is it becomes this manager of all these containers. And so fundamentally they're concerned about wireless access. How do you share that with each one of these containers? Keyboards, mice, how do you share? I mean, from the developer's perspective, this has got to be fantastic and amazing and a rewrite of the roadmaps that they've been following for years. New people coming out of college or in college right now are going to be learning a completely different way of developing applications and operating systems. And you, as a consumer, are not going to notice any difference. It's going to have a little bit new shine on the start menu button, right? It's going to be faster to start up and shut down. It'll have nothing to do with the underlying technology. It's just we're at that point now, the instant on, instant off. You're going to feel those things and not even realize all this. It's like changing the foundation of a building. If you could do that, you'd still be in the building. You'd still be doing the things you do in the building. You'd have no idea that it can survive 9.5 earthquakes now and flooding up to the third floor. You have no comprehension of that. You just still be in your cubicle selling insurance.
Scott, I learned something the other day. It was brand new for me. You're talking about sharing phone to computer to TV, all communication devices. I did not know that the symbol for sharing looked like a wishbone with two little dots in the bottom. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that. Does everybody all know that?
No.
You all know that.
Actually, what gets confusing is that each platform has its own icon for sharing.
Really?
So what you're describing, the globe with two lines, you'll find that almost always in an Android platform, and I think Windows 10 has finally adopted that as a share icon, but it's not the icon that's used in the Apple platform.
Oh, really?
Apple has like a square with a curled arrow coming out, if I remember right.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All these
Well-
multi-core processors, does each processor have its own cache in the RAM, or do they share?
Well, you're getting a little deep in the woods for me on that. Yeah. Yeah, I do believe they have their own cache, but that is as far into it as I can get. We could go back and look at the AMD announcement of their new technology.
Oh, that's all right. I'm still a 286, 386 vintage, so.
Well, I've got the cable, so you're.
Oh, thank you.
And I think we've reached the end of our weekly meeting. As you can see, people out there in internet land, we've got people departing. Not because they're tired of me. I imagine it's because they have to pee. That I do too, so I'm ready to go. But this has been the San Carlos Computer Club. I'm holding one of my USB camera cables behind me so people can slide out of their seats. I am Scott Stimson with International Computer Solutions. That's internationalcs.net. If you've got computer needs anywhere on the internet, I'd appreciate you getting a hold of us. Locally, you can call us at 226-0209. You can reach us through our website, internationalcs.net. You can reach me directly through email, scott@internationalcs.net. If you liked our computer club and are interested in more of this kind of stuff, check out our website at sccClub.org. You can also reach me for computer club issues at scott@sccClub.org. You can also check us out as a podcast, wherever you get podcasts. Search for the San Carlos Computer Club. Or look for us on YouTube. You can find us real easy at youtube.sccClub.org, or go to YouTube and search the San Carlos Computer Club. You'll find our channel. That's it. I'm done. I'm out of here. Until next Tuesday.